live in Western Oregon. This is NBC 16 News at 11.
Tonight, one of the surviving crew members from that dive boat inferno that killed 34 people is suing the boat's owner and operator. Good evening and thanks for joining us on NBC 16 News at 11. I am Alexis Thrower. His attorney calling the ship a death trap. Here's NBC's Miguel Almaguer.
Before it erupted in flames, killing 34 people, the Conception wasn't seaworthy, properly maintained, or stocked with adequate safety equipment. Those are the staggering claims made by the boat's chef, Ryan Sims, one of the 5 surviving crew members who had been on the job only 3 weeks. Through his attorney, he says the victims never had a chance.
I think that the boat was a death trap. I mean, when you look at the second escape hatch, it's not really an escape hatch. It's almost not functional.
The lawsuit slams the company's failure to comply with industry standards and failure to properly train their employees. Sims, who assumed the boat was safe, broke his leg jumping from the 3rd deck as fire spread across the 2nd deck, killing the 34 people who were trapped by flames below deck. The Conception's owner has no comment, but spoke to KEYT in Santa Barbara before the lawsuit.
You know, we've been in this business for 45 years now and have never had an incident, anything like this.
With investigators confirming the night watchman was asleep when the fire exploded, a criminal probe is now underway. But tonight, one survivor claims the boat should have never been on the water. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
If you're enjoying your newly updated iPhone operating system, iOS 13, there's something you should know. A flaw in the system can expose your stored contact details without requiring biometric identification or a passcode. Making matters worse, Apple has known about the problem since July when a cybersecurity enthusiast alerted them to it. A hacker would have to actually have your phone in their physical possession in order to execute the hack. But if they did get a hold of your phone, the flaw would allow them to bypass the normal security features like facial ID. Then they'd be able to access your address book and recent contact and communication data. Apple confirmed the flaw would be fixed in the next version of the operating system, due to be released on September 24th. Breaking news, police arrest a Sandy High School student over a possible school shooting threat. But after an investigation, they say there was no real credible threat. It started with a post on social media site TikTok discussing a school shooting. That information was reported to federal law enforcement, who tracked down the user and discovered they were a 16-year-old student at Sandy High School. Sandy police arrested the student and interviewed them. They say the student didn't have access to weapons and there's no information suggesting the threat was credible. He'll be released to his parents. On to a first look at weather. NBC 16's meteorologist Josh Kozar joins us now in the Weather Center. Josh, it was sunny skies today, but will that last through our weekend?
Oh, Alexis, I'm going to say yes and no. We'll start our weekend off with sunshine, but the rain showers, they do return just in time for our Sunday. But let's rewind the clock back to yesterday, where we managed to break a record in Eugene. Eugene at about 86/10 of an inch of rain, and that breaks our old record set back in 1968. But this is good news, all the rainfall that we've seen. It's dropped our ODF fire potential to low all across our area, kind of putting an end to our fire season and also kind of starting to peel back a lot of these dry drought conditions across Western Oregon. But radar and satellite showing just a few isolated rain showers through our area at this point in time. This will be a trend we'll see into the morning hours for your Friday, but I'll let you know when the big soaking rain moves back into our area, coming up in my full forecast in a few minutes.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Josh. Now to NBC's special series, Climate in Crisis. And if one place stands out where they're facing the immediate impacts of climate change, it's Iceland. But as NBC's Richard Engel found out, scientists there have also come up with a possible solution.
Iceland may have to change its name because this Viking nation's glaciers are melting. Environmental researcher Siguros Arnardottir took me to see a deep lagoon with icebergs floating where a glacier had been.
10 years ago, the lagoon didn't even exist.
How does it make you feel to see this lake?
Honestly, it's quite a love-hate thing for me. It just screams climate change.
Iceland has nearly 300 named glaciers, one is already completely gone. This summer, the locals held a funeral for it. Around the world, more than 300 billion tons of glacier ice is melting every year, warming the oceans and lifting them. This stunning video was shot last month in Greenland, where temperatures in the 70s melted so much glacier ice, it created a river. We found the same all across Iceland.
Everywhere we've been going, we've been passing these little streams.
It almost feels like the glacier is bleeding.
But this vulnerable country may have come up with a solution. Scientists here have figured out a way to take carbon dioxide, one of the main causes of climate change, out of the environment and fuse it into these harmless rocks. These are the stones.
Yes, these are actual rock samples.
Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is what warms the planet. Now these scientists are capturing it from the air, dissolving it in water, and pumping it underground, where it's absorbed in those rocks forever.
Why isn't this happening today on a massive scale?
It's really cost. Short-sightedness as well, probably.
Iceland's future depends on finding a solution.
What do you say to people who doubt that this is happening?
Open your eyes. It's happening all around us.
Richard Engel, NBC News, Reykjavik, Iceland.
You may be seeing more three-wheeled vehicles on the road of Eugene in the near future. Archimoto hosted a launch event for its electric fun utility vehicles this evening. The Eugene-based car manufacturer sent 3 people home with their new vehicles and promised to ramp up production. CEO Mark Frohnmeyer says that while they're currently focused on producing a vehicle a day, Archimoto hopes to eventually manufacture hundreds of FUVs a week out of their Eugene factory. During the unveiling, he also pointed towards a group of young adults from Eugene, currently in the capital, advocating for environmental protections as a source of inspiration for the company.
The federal government has not done its job in protecting the future livability of the planet, and so they're suing the government. So to have that as really our hometown backdrop, I think is significant. So it's a part of the story that we want to be a part of, certainly, and I think has heavily influenced the development of the company.
The company's support for Eugene's environmental activists comes as the world prepares for a global climate strike beginning tomorrow. Speaking of the strike, students across the U.S. are planning to walk out of class tomorrow to demand action to address the global climate crisis. Some of those students will be right here in the Eugene-Springfield area. Eugene 4J School District says while they do not endorse walkouts, students are not prevented from leaving their high school or middle school. However, they will have an unexcused absence.
We respect our students' voice around important issues. The school day is a time when students should be in school, and the district does not condone any student walkout activity. We expect that our students will be in class and learning during that time.
The Springfield and Bethel school districts echoed similar sentiments on the matter, but these students at Network Charter School in Eugene are making signs for tomorrow's rally. High school students at that school will be excused from class to attend the global climate strike, and some teachers will accompany them downtown.
A lot of our classes are, like I said, about climate justice. A lot of our classes are in the community, and we're really consider ourselves a community-based school, so it's a good fit for our students to go to this.
The global climate strike in Eugene will be held at Wayne Morse Free Speech Plaza at noon tomorrow. Coming up next on NBC 16 News at 11, we recap startling numbers from ODOT and remind you of who to look out for while you're on the road. Plus, it's National Suicide Prevention Month, what local organizations are doing to combat the concern.
The rising cost of insulin driving some diabetics to
News at 11.
Last year marked a record number of fatal motorcycle crashes in Oregon. That's according to ODOT, who's calling the numbers concerning. ODOT says 78 people died in Oregon from a motorcycle crash in 2018, compared to 57 fatalities from the previous year. ODOT attributes the spike to a variety of issues. Melissa Wells from Cottage Grove lost her father, Ronald Chase, also known as Scott, after a motorcycle crash about 2 weeks ago. She wants to remind drivers to look out for motorcyclists.
He was going out of town on his motorcycle, and she must have pulled up in front of him, like out, going up a driveway. and he just hit the back of it. And there were bystanders that have told us that he flew off down the embankment by the Cottage Grove Lake, and there were a lot of people down there.
Wells put together a tribute to her father. She's asking motorcyclists and people to line the streets and make some noise near the Great Western Pub in Cottage Grove at 1 o'clock this Saturday. There is another new death linked to vaping. Missouri now reporting the 8th death across the country, and the CDC announcing a surge in vaping-related illness. 530 cases in 38 states and the Virgin Islands. Here's NBC's Ann Thompson.
As the cases soar, a clearer picture today of the vaping victims. More than half are under the age of 25. 3/4 of the cases are men. Most disturbingly, officials expect the death toll of 8 to grow as they search for answers.
Why is it taking the CDC so long to figure out what's causing this problem?
Patients may not even know what's in the products that they've been using. Patients may have been using a number of products, and they may not know which is the one or more that led to the injury they're experiencing.
Eli Searle said he only vaped THC for a month, the active ingredient in marijuana. But the 23-year-old ended up on life support, with lungs his doctor said looked 150.
I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy.
The FDA's launched a criminal investigation into the supply chain as it analyzes more than 150 samples. And today, a new report says vaping more than doubled in the last 2 years among 8th, 10th, and 12th graders. A public health crisis threatening America's young people. Ann Thompson, NBC News, New York.
Oregon lawmakers are proposing a bill that would require students in grades 6 through 12 to take a mental health wellness check once every school year. The National Alliance on Mental Illness reports Oregon ranks the highest in the country for the prevalence of mental illness. But it doesn't just affect young people in Oregon. Roger Brubaker, a suicide prevention coordinator, says Oregon has a relatively robust healthcare system with many organizations.
Meaning that more people are able to access Medicaid and Medicare, and therefore more folks oftentimes get diagnosed for the problems that may go unseen in other areas with less access to care.
He says that's one of the reasons why mental illness is recognized more often than not in Oregon. A public health group provided suicide prevention training in Coos County. Veterans were identified as a special interest at-risk group. NBC 16's Lauren Negretti has more.
The numbers show veterans are twice as likely to die by suicide than civilians. That's according to the Department of Veterans Affairs. According to the VA, 20 veterans die every day from suicide.
The veterans that are not in care is how do we identify them and how do we expedite them to treatment.
That's where a suicide prevention training hosted by Coos Health and Wellness comes in.
You're going to make that really challenging question. Are you thinking of killing yourself? After you ask that question, you're going to persuade and validate their experience. So validate listening and then persuade to treatment, and that's where the refer comes in, the QPR, referring them and expediting them to get them the help that they need.
William Wasson, a local VA suicide prevention coordinator, says they have support groups, resources, and a similar internal training. Guy Pierce says he came back from serving in the Army in Afghanistan in 2009 with PTSD.
In the military, one of the things you learn is, never leave a fallen comrade. So, me, myself, being in a dark place at one time and receiving help, I feel like it's part of my obligation in life to hopefully reach out to one of those that may be a fallen comrade in a sense.
He works with the VA program, helping homeless veterans get housing.
Both say the goal is to spread awareness of the issue and education on resources and treatment. Reporting in Coos County, I'm Lauren Negretti.
A Eugene nonprofit has come up with a new way to reach young people at risk for suicide. Youth Era has partnered with Twitch, an online game streaming platform that reaches millions of people on a daily basis. The nonprofit now has access to virtual chat rooms where they serve to empower youth struggling with depression or suicidal thoughts.
One of the ways that we remain responsive to youth voice and youth culture is we don't say you're just a kid, it's gonna pass. That is language that has to be gone away because those feelings are real, and so we need to attend to the feelings as they are right now.
Youth Era says their recent partnership with an online platform is already saving lives. Turning to weather now, NBC 16 meteorologist Josh Cozart is standing by for a look at what's coming up in your full forecast. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Alexis. I think you'll be excited to see my 7-day forecast as we have a little bit more sunshine than the rain chances. Those rain chances are still there and might have some impacts that could negatively impact your weekend plans. I'll have all those details next.
At Toyota, it takes more than a 20-point inspection. Josh Cozart.
Well, it was another beautiful day all across Western Oregon. We actually managed to get a little bit of sunshine out there, but our temperatures right now sitting on the mild side into the upper 50s. But take a look at this. See that? Some of our roadways are actually on the dry side, something that we haven't been able to say over the past couple of days. But the clouds, they are rolling back in. A few rain showers possible tonight into your Friday morning. And yes, unfortunately, the rain showers, they do return for our Sunday. Speaking of the rain showers, radar and satellite picking up just a little bit of precip. Some of this actually not making its way to the ground, drying out before it does so. That's what we call virga, and we will be seeing that through the overnight hours tonight. But increasing clouds for most of us across Western Oregon. Temperatures will be on the mild side in towards the low to mid 50s, and patchy fog is definitely a possibility to develop tonight and linger into your Friday morning commute. But the reason for this rain chance tonight into tomorrow is all due to this cold front right here. It's a very weak one at that, and we have high pressure down to the southwest with clockwise rotation helping to drag in some slightly drier conditions into our area. Thus, some of that rainfall that we're seeing on our radar starting to evaporate. But we really see our next low pressure system dive its way down the Gulf of Alaska in through British Columbia, but it has a cold front with it. And yep, there you go. There's those rain showers that will be making their way back to Western Oregon just in time for us to finish out our weekend. But our Futurecast really kind of times all this out quite nicely for us. You'll notice that we'll have the increasing clouds tonight, waking up on your Friday with mostly cloudy skies from the coast to the valleys. Those rain showers pretty much staying over the Pacific Ocean, but it doesn't mean we can't have a few raindrops in the higher elevations of the Pacific Range and out towards the Cascades, but mostly dry for those of us hanging out in the valleys. But once we get into the afternoon hours for our Friday, a lot of those clouds start to clear out. We see the sun start to poke back out, and our temperature is starting to warm ever so slightly into the low 70s for us. And then once we get into our Saturday morning, the sunshine, it continues and will stick around for a majority of our Saturday. But it's going to be short-lived because those rain chances return once we roll into Sunday. But really from now until our Saturday afternoon, not seeing a lot of precip in our forecast, just going to be hanging out over the higher elevations. But tomorrow our daytime highs will be on the mild side, feeling very fall-like into low 70s and 60s out toward the coast. But since it is feeling like fall out there, our fall colors, the peak is just right around the corner. For those of us in the valleys, expecting to see our peak anywhere from October 12th through the 20th. But with our really Futurecast, our 7-day forecast, rather 20% chance for those rain showers tomorrow, sunshine for our Saturday, rain on Sunday, and the first official day of fall is on this Monday. But out towards the coast, temperatures right around average for this time of year, and 80% chance for some rain showers and highs only into the mid 60s for our daytime highs. Down towards the Umpqua Valley, mostly cloudy skies for your Friday, and then foggy conditions for Friday morning into Saturday, but temperatures warming back up into the 70s, and we've just seen some spectacular photos across our area over the past couple of weeks. Be sure to send them in to us by going to NBC16.com/chime in.
So Sunday doesn't look as favorable.
Not as favorable if you want to spend time outside, but maybe if you want to catch a movie, that's the day for you.
Okay, maybe I will. I have like a running list of movies. I did go see a movie without Hayden.
Yeah, I'm still mad. We'll digress.
I know. So what's going on in the world of sports?
A lot going on. We got some soccer highlights, but we will start with football. How did Marcus Mariota do on Thursday Night Football? The Ducks legend facing a divisional rival on the road. Highlights on the way.
Well, it finally happened, Zachary. Somebody burned down my sheet.
Test is brought to you by Three Rivers Casino Resort.
The high school football season is entering week 3, and we're still trying to figure out which teams are really talented. There's no question about two teams in 5A, Thurston and Crater, and both will be on the field Friday night in Central Point. Thurston is coming off a convincing 15-point win over Sheldon after shutting out Churchill 55-0 in week 1. Meanwhile, Crater is 2-0, beating its opponents by a combined 89 points. Good versus good. Friday night at Crater.
We're just focused on improvement.
We're also, I mean, we know we're going to go into a really hostile environment down there. Their fans are really, hardcore, and so we need to really play our best and try and block out all the outside noise.
We just got to walk in, business trip, go in there focused, and, try and block everything out and just go play football.
Highlights from this game and several more tomorrow night, 11:15, right here on Friday Night Fever. Year 5 of Marcus Mariota's NFL career is off to an awful start, as further evidenced by Thursday night's matchup of the Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. AFC South matchup featuring 2 Pac-12 quarterbacks. One balled out on the Thursday night stage, and it wasn't Mariota. Former Washington State quarterback Gardner Minshew was electric. In just his second career start, throws his second touchdown pass of the game to put Duval up 14-0. As for Mariota, Titans going for it on 4th down in the third quarter. Marcus sacked by Calais Campbell. Mariota sacked 9 times Thursday. Titans lose 20-7.
It's a gut check. I mean, to be honest with you, you lose 2 division games within a span of 5 days. It's a wake-up call. And, I think we have the guys in the building to bounce back. I believe in these guys, and we're going to find ways to get better and get ready to go next week.
Up next for Marcus and the Titans in Atlanta against the Falcons on the 29th. We end in Corvallis. Doubleheader for Oregon State soccer. First up, the women taking on Idaho. Vandals up 1-0 in the 35th minute. And it's freshman Sophie Conrad. Welcome to Corvallis. Her first goal of the season, just right outside the box, ties the game up at 1. 77th minute. A cross from Mackenzie Weinhart. Gonna get past the keeper and Kaylin Freed. There to finish it for the Beavers. OSU finishes non-conference play undefeated. 2-1 the final. The Oregon State men Pac-12 opener at home against UCLA. 3 minutes in and OSU takes control right away. Joe Walker hammers one from close range. Puts the Beavers up 1-0. OSU still dominating, and they almost go up 2 later in the game, but the pass for Gloria Amanda, just a bit too heavy. Beavs would score another goal, though, in the 43rd minute. Oregon State gets the shutout 2-0 win. They host San Diego State on Sunday. So we should do some football there. Tomorrow night we'll show you some American football. Friday Night Fever, week 3. It might be our best show yet.
Oh,
I literally say that every week.
Well, thank you so much, Hayden. And coming up next on NBC 16 News at 11, although pandas are popular in China, this cutie has one major difference than the rest.
Hi, I'm Mark of Mark & Company. Let us help you upgrade.
Finally tonight, a rare gray panda made its public debut in southwest China yesterday. Shih Tzu was born back in June and looks quite different from 2 other newborns in the nursery house. The female cub attracted large crowds of visitors by deviating from the characteristic black and white fur, and it's gray, of course. It's so cute. And then the Chengdu research base of giant panda breeding said that from experience, the fur of former gray pandas usually turns to black after about 6 months.
Interesting. Unique.
So cute, right? I love it. Well, thank you so much for watching NBC 16 News at 11. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
You use the latest technology to treat patients. Grand Canyon